thanks Rebecca for setting this up and moderating tonight. It's great to be here. We've got almost 60 attendees, and that's great. And there's so much great stuff to talk about. I mean, frankly, we're all excited. It's been 2 years. We were starting the plans last summer, and then when COVID came crashing down on us, we couldn't figure out how to get 350 people on a ship. We were fortunate to get the graduating seniors out on the rudder, but that was pretty much it. And so we know that there's a lot that have been delayed. We've got people with 2 years of here at the university that haven't been out on the water yet. So we're excited to get out there and get this thing moving. So much is we've been through so much in the last year, really 15 months or 16 months with COVID and everything. We've continued to shift. We've continued to adapt. We've done our best, at the university to keep everybody moving forward. What we've learned to do is lean on each other a lot, to support each other, come up with best ideas and encourage through what's been a grind at times. But we're excited to be here now in the final preparations with the start of C term, less than a month away. Just real quick before going into it, for those that might not have heard, the new ship, the National Security Multi-Mission Vessel that will be coming to Texas A&M, was funded by the U.S. Congress on January 2nd. That was a huge win for us. The infrastructure that we need to support the big ship, the funding for that was approved by the Texas legislature in the session that just ended. That was a huge win for us also. And we're excited to be getting ready. The T.S. Kennedy that will be here at the campus in a few weeks will become our ship in 2023 for a couple of years until the new ship gets here. So there's a lot of great stuff happening. We're also, as part of this and the lead up to it, we're looking forward to hosting some events for families, parents, loved ones. Before we depart. We'll have, we're going to call it the celebration, if you will, on July 6th and 7th. And we'll get those more details about that out next week. But, we're planning for kind of a tailgate on the evening of July 6th to be on campus with different games and desserts and beverages and stuff like that. And then there will be a sail away celebration flotilla on mid-morning on July 7th. That'll be really, some will be on campus, some will be in their boats, and I know that there's some parents groups that are renting boats and arranging that. That's y'all are working that out to be part of that, really to kind of sail out with us, and we're gonna have some fun with this. Just like we did in 2019 when we left on the Golden Bear. And it was a lot of fun. It's a huge motivator for the cadets on board to see all of that excitement. And we look forward to doing that again. For those that can't be here, we will live stream that on social media, so you can join in as best able from both probably some of the vessels or boats that will be escorting the Kennedy out, and maybe even from the Kennedy itself. So today we're going to give you an overview of the entire C term operations, really the schedule for the ports, etc. We're going to talk about quarantine and vaccination protocols and everything that we're going to do to keep COVID off of the ship this summer, because we do know in a confined spaces on a ship, it can be very dangerous because it's impossible to stop the spread. So we're working, we've worked really hard, and the most of the other academies have required 100% vaccination of everybody on board, or they're not allowed to go. And that's not our process. We do make it optional, but there's some definite trade-offs there. We're going to talk about the pre-cruise period or pre-embarkation. What you'll be going through, exactly where, when, sea bag inspections, personal effects, the paperwork you need to bring with you, where to park your car, things like that. Then we're going to have our C term cadet commander, Cole Massington, will talk about day in the life from the cadet point of view. the different kind of things. We're going to hear from our academic departments, talk a little bit about how the academics will be working on board the classrooms, examples of experiences, lessons, things like that. And we're going to hear from Captain McNeese. He is the master of the training ship. He's going to talk about Watch Liberty, communication abilities, and et cetera. We'll talk a little bit also about port activities that are planned, as well as activities that are planned on the ship. And we'll talk Watch, Liberty, et cetera. We'll get a little bit of information from also about the travel, exactly how we're handling it, especially getting home from Buzzards Bay. And I hope we answer all your questions. If we don't in the next 45 minutes or however long this takes, then we look forward to taking your questions at the end.
Sir, would you like to toss it around the room and allow everyone to introduce themselves and what they do?
I think that would be great, please. I'll just call on you. Captain Post.
Good evening. I'm Alan Post, Acting Deputy Superintendent, and all around trying to keep this whole entire process moving. Appreciate it.
You bet. Captain McNeese.
Hello, I'm Captain Sean McNeese. I'm the master of the training ship. And I also am trying to get this underway. Be happy when that happens.
Amen. Dr. Sutherland.
Todd Sutherland, serve as the Associate Vice President for Student Affairs and Assistant Superintendent for Cadets.
Okay. Captain Roth. Captain Dr.
Hi, I'm the Maritime Transportation Department Head. I oversee the deck program and the licensing STCW portions of it.
All right. Captain Beacon.
Hi, I'm Captain Ryan Viken, and I'm also in the MART department with Captain Roth. I'm an assistant professor and an assistant department head. So I will aid in Gussie's or Captain Roth's ultimate goal of conducting a good cruise.
Okay. Dr. Kane.
Howdy, I'm Dr. Matthew Kane. I'm the Assistant Department Head in the Marine Engineering Technology Department. So I'm looking forward to training the engineers on how to push the ship through the water.
Dr. Quigg.
Howdy, folks. I'm the Chief Academic Officer and Senior VP for Research and Grad Studies. Thank you.
Okay. Susan Lee.
Yes, hello. I am Susan Lee. I am the Associate Vice President for Finance, Budgets, and Compliance for this campus. Thank you.
All right. Commander Van Velzen.
Howdy, Commander Van Velzen, the Commandant of the Cadets.
You bet. Corps Commander.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cole Massington. I'm the C-Term Commander for this summer.
And everybody's favorite, Meg McNulty.
I'm Meg McNulty, and I am the Assistant Director for Student Business Services.
Okay, and I want to thank all of you for being here with us this evening to make sure we're ready to answer, any questions. Thank you. Rebecca, you want me to toss it, or are you going to cue each one up?
No, sir, you're welcome to toss it along.
Okay. Alan, why don't you start us off with a kind of a C-term overview?
Sure. And yes, I did unmute. I have to hide you so I can read my notes here. Good evening, and thank you for being here again. Looking really quickly here at the schedule, and this schedule is posted online on the C-Term website. For those people who are not vaccinated, and we'll go over the quarantine and vaccination protocols here in a minute, they're asked to report on the morning of June 24th. If you have been vaccinated, you're asked to report on June 27th for the start of pre-cruise. Scroll down here. So pre-cruise will start on June 27th, Sunday, June 27th. Check-in times will start at, I believe, 9 a.m. We're going to go over that a little bit later. And we'll run throughout the day. We are going to break everybody up into their companies and ask that they come by company if at all possible, just to allow us to check everybody in and have our doctors do a pre-medical screen. We will be moving on, but the Kennedy is tentatively scheduled to arrive the afternoon of Wednesday, the 30th, here in Galveston. And then we will board immediately after that on Thursday, the 1st in the morning. And we'll board by company and move everybody's luggage and whatever else that they need from Tama Hall over to the ship here. We will be departing on Wednesday, the 7th. We will arrive into St. Thomas on the 16th and anchor for the day. And we will dock in Charlotte Amalie West at the Crown Bay Cruise Ship Terminal on July 17th. We will depart St. Thomas the morning of July 21st and will arrive back in Galveston at anchor on July 30th, pulling back into Galveston on the 31st of July. Continuing forward with the sea term, we'll be departing Galveston the morning of Tuesday the 3rd and proceeding up the East Coast to Boston, where we will anchor on August 12th and arrive in Boston at the cruise ship terminal on the 13th of August. We will depart Boston on the morning of the 16th of August. We will spend about a week underway before we pull into New York City, actually not into port, but into New York Harbor, where we will take probably about 1,600 tons worth of fuel that we have burned for the duration of the voyage. We will not be docking. We will be anchoring off of Staten Island in what's called the Stapleton Anchorage. We'll depart New York via the East River and Long Island Sound, which is going to be a really cool trip up the side of Manhattan and out Long Island Sound. And we will arrive into Buzzards Bay at Slackwater High, which is the easiest way to spin the Kennedy into the berth. And that will be around 1:30 on Thursday, August 26th. Let me switch slides here, excuse me. Okay, I'm also going to talk about quarantine and vaccination protocols. We are following the same processes that every training ship in the State Maritime Academy fleet is currently using. The training ships are all underway right now. We will be the last ones to get underway. And I can tell you that the captains have all been reporting into our captains group that the quarantine and vaccination process is working and that they've been able to maintain a clean COVID ship. So those people that are not vaccinated will be required to report for a minimum of a 6-day quarantine on the 24th of June. They'll be required to have a COVID test on day 1 and then again 5 days later. If both of those tests are clear, they will be allowed to board the vessel. However, let me scroll down here real quick. If you do voluntarily get the COVID vaccine and provide that information to us, we will waive the quarantine period prior to embarkation and allow liberty in port. Without the vaccine, we cannot allow persons off the vessel, as the ease of transmission would bring that back on board. We ask that you please have your cadets check their official university email. There have been emails sent to them regarding vaccination form that they will be required to fill out, or that they are asked to fill out, excuse me. And that form lets us know so that we can pre-plan how many people will be in quarantine for that 6-day period. So there was also a question about staffing and crew. We have a professional staff that professional crew that currently staffs the General Rudder. They will be coming with us, as well as several Coast Guard licensed crew members from the Kennedy and other licensed crew members that we have hired for many, many years in the past, as well as all of the faculty members that you are used to in the license option programs will be traveling with us. And of course, we'll have a large contingent of food service to be able to feed everyone. We're looking forward to some decent meals, as we know that a ship does not necessarily run on just bunker fuel. It also runs on human fuel. So we're looking forward. We'll have about 55 to 60 crew members on board throughout the duration of this summer. Colonel Fossum, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Alan. Very good. Let's talk about the pre-embarkation time, the things that are going to be going on before we get on the ship. I think Dan, you and Dr. Sutherland, I think, are covering that.
Yes, sir. So as Captain Post alluded to a few minutes ago, for the unvaccinated people, the cadets that are coming, they'll be checking in on June 24th between 900 and 11:30 here at Tama Hall, and they'll be getting checked into their rooms. And we have a series of stations, medical, documentation, bag inspections, all those kind of things as they get checked into Tama Hall. For those who have been vaccinated, the check-in is on June 27th. From 8 to 11 will be Alpha and Bravo companies. 11 to 1400 is Charlie and Delta. And then 14 to 1700 is Echo and Foxtrot companies. And we're still in the process of identifying who are going into which companies. So monitor your university email accounts for that information as we get those rosters finished up.
And Ben, to be clear, those that are checking in early to go through the pre-testing and quarantine, I mean, they'll be just, everybody knows the drill by now. They'll be isolated in their rooms. We're bringing meals to them, et cetera, for the duration of the time in Tama Hall until we move them directly, from Tama Hall directly onto the ship.
Yes, sir.
So
that, and bring everything you need with you, because there's no Walmart runs or anything after that. So.
No, and those that are not in quarantine will have free range of campus and food service on campus in Captain's Landing.
So as part of that pre-embarkation process, we're trying to get kind of a one-stop shop. So you'll go through a series of rotations that will include Derek Montero checking all the credentials, certifications, those types of things. For this voyage, we'll have 2 emergency certified physicians that will be going on board. So they'll do a medical screening, including gathering any information about prescriptions, any kind of medical issues that we might need to be aware of, in case of any kind of accident on board, that type of information. So that'll all be taken care of there when folks are checking in. The other question we often get about, I've driven down here and get ready to set up, what do I do with my vehicle? There will be a space that will be set aside over in the SEAGI Center parking lot that's right outside our police station. And that way the police, every time they walk in and out of the office, they'll be able to look out over the cars and make sure that they're in a safe and secure place for the summer. We've done that for all of our past voyages, and it's worked out very well. We've got them all grouped together, and they do an inventory and make sure everything is there and set. So those are the other little pieces that sometimes people ask questions about. Back to you, Ron.
Okay. Did we cover medical issues, prescriptions?
Yeah, that's where we'll get the medical screening to get information. So
okay,
sure.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, there will be information going out about what all you can bring on board, and then obviously there is a sea bag inspection that takes place by the assistant commandants before things are moved on board the ship as well. So that is another step.
Okay, very good. Hey, Cole, talk to us about life, day in the life.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everybody. I'm Cole Massington, as I said earlier. Super excited about this cruise. So far, cadet leadership has been heavily involved in planning, organization, and logistics of this entire sea term. So I'm real excited to share some of this with you. For some of you, this might be information you remember, might be a little bit familiar, and for some of you, this is all brand new. So I'll kind of go over some of the common questions and things you might be wondering. So sort of we'll just start with the day in the life. It's busy. There's lots of learning and there's lots of memories to be made on sea term, and that's for sure. In port for the first part, We'll be completing class, trainings, and drills as we await the arrival of the Kennedy. Each day is kind of like it is here. We'll start with formation in port, and we'll continue with provisioning the vessel. Just as before, one company stands watch in port, and Liberty is at the discretion of the master when we're in port here in Galveston and St. Thomas in Boston. At sea, it's sort of the same thing. Formation in the morning. Obviously, everyone gets a good big breakfast to fuel up for the day. We'll go to class and maintenance at 0800. And if you're on watch, obviously you'll be on watch, and do that till about 11:30. And then we'll have lunch. Again, big hearty meal so everybody can get fueled up for the rest of the day. And then we'll have formation at 1300. Formation on board the vessel is so that we can ensure everybody's aboard and that we get any critical information to you about logistics or navigation of the vessel as it comes down from the watch team. So it's pretty important on cruise that we have everybody there. And that's why we're doing it at 1300 this time around. From that point on, cadets will finish out the day until dinner. So same thing, classroom and maintenance. So doing deck maintenance. And after dinner, your time is your own, unless you're on the utility rotation, which is a new rotation this year. And some cadets play board games. Some do celestial navigation. You may be watching movies. Some people just like to have a good conversation on the fantail. And this time after dinner until the end of the night is where we'll do any of our special events and activities. And on that note, Dr. Sutherland and his team, including cadets, have done an excellent job. We have a lot of events and activities for cadets this summer. We have casino night, karaoke night, Uno tournaments, Monopoly nights, ping pong tournaments. We've got a lot of stuff. Cornhole, basketball games. The Kennedy's got that ability. So we're gonna have a lot of stuff going on for cadets it's very, very fun. We'll have a lot of things that you can get out of those things. We'll also have the Sinbad Games. That's a long-standing tradition. For those of you who don't know, it's basically an Olympics, but it's all maritime related. So we'll definitely have those, and there'll definitely be a good prize if your company wins that. So plenty of extracurriculars to do when the workday's over. So there's kind of the day in the life of a cadet in terms of days. I know we had a few questions about classes, things like that. On sea term, your courses are going to be very similar to what they would be here on land, but obviously you're on board the vessel. So your instructors, it's going to be a regular day class in the morning and afternoon. Some days it might be lecture. Some days you might be hands-on because you're on board the vessel, which is great. You go over everything from basic navigation to professional development in the field. So you work based upon your class. You'll learn things that are more applicable to you. And so that's how classes go. It's pretty much what you're used to, which is good. Food, looking forward to some good food this summer. This summer we have 4 meal times each day. So we'll have a hot meal for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, and a midnight meal for those going on and off watch. So it'll be 4 hot meals a day. And we also have a lot of grazing food, let's put it that way, that's always out for you. So we'll have cereal, peanut butter, fruit, and other things that are available for you to get if you need it throughout the day as a snack or a little fuel up before maintenance again. So that should be real fun. The biggest question I think we get for crews on cadets, so I'll probably spend the most time on this one, is accommodations and berthing. Every vessel is a little bit different. The Kennedy is built up of big, large cargo holds, which are all made into larger berthings. Most berthings are 30 plus. All cadets are going to be on the upper and lower tween decks, starting with freshmen. Freshmen are in berthings with a little bit more to them. We have berthings all the way up to 70 cadets and as low as about 10 cadets. And as you get to junior and senior level, you'll have the smaller berthings down in the lower and upper tween deck. They're by company. That was a request from several years ago. They're going to be by company. That way your watch rotation and all your rotations remain consistent, and you have a better sleep schedule. Berthings in general are 3-stack bunks. So exactly what you're used to seeing on the general rudder. They have underbed storage. I know that's a common question. You'll also have a locker to store your personal items. And some berthings might have multiple lockers because of we're not going to take up as much space as the vessel can hold. So you're going to have ample space for all of your belongings, things like that. You also have a plug. So a lot of cadets choose to bring a surge protector And that's real easy for you to plug in your laptop, phone, anything else you need. Obviously, each berthing's got a very large head for all the cadets living in it, or bathroom. And they'll be inspected regularly by officers, cadet staff, and our hold captains to ensure they're clean and free of anything that's adrift in the berthing. If you guys want to have any photos of the berthings, there's a couple included on the CTERM website on the general arrangement, so you can kind of see what the vessel looks like in terms of a berthing. They're all going to look about the same. Some are bigger and some are smaller. For that, usually bring a fitted sheet, a sleeping bag, and a pillow. That's the easiest thing to travel with, and it can be left behind at the end of CTERM if you don't want it. But overall, like I said before, cadet leadership's been extremely involved in this. We're trying to make this the most practical and professional and fun experience as we can make it. Some of the leadership has worked full time since the end of the semester on a lot of the things that we've been planning. So I've really appreciated the company commanders and all the rest of the leadership that's helped pull this together, because it's quite a lot. And a lot of your companions are in the food survey group, and they really helped build a lot of these things to become much, much better than they were. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm happy that everybody on this team has been real helpful. We've all worked together, and I'm looking forward to a real fun CTERM with all of you.
Great. Thank you very much, Cole. And I want to thank the cadet leadership for stepping up and really getting involved and helping us refine this. Next up is the academic departments. Let's talk about, how do you go to school? How do you go to class? How do you train?
I'll go first, because I don't see Matt's hands moving real fast over there. So once again, I'm over the deck side, and we've got years of experience of doing this, and we've been on several different ships. And this year we are putting a lot of effort together to try to pick some of the most favorable subjects that the cadets enjoyed over the previous years. And then the platform of the Kennedy is an amazing ship. She may be an older ship, but let's just say if everything runs smoothly on a ship, you're not really learning. So putting him on this ship where there's going to be a lot of opportunity to see different systems because of the age and the style. Booms are not common, but yet the teamwork that goes behind working on one of those and building the leadership of giving commands on something that's that cumbersome helps them really build their confidence. So we're picking the ideas from the different levels for the classes. We have 3 that will be on there: 200, 300, and 400. Unfortunately, a lot of our first year students didn't get to go out last year for any cruises. So we will be gathering a couple of them together in the first cruise for 200. And during that time, that larger group will be broken into smaller groups. A lot of my faculty have taken the initiative to break them even into smaller groups and run their classes twice a day, so that they can get a lot of hands-on and interaction around the engine spaces and the mechanical spaces with Captain Nellick / chief engineer. He is a dually, and he will help break down the mechanical means on the deck side. And then they will have Captain Howell, who will be doing a lot of the interactive navigation and I think regulatory. And then Joe Ferris, who's going to take the lead, instructor of record, is a very energetic and talkative guy who gets connected with the first year students. So he will definitely be there to help them figure out where they need extra support, and then work with the rest of the team as their lead faculty member. And he'll be on deck a lot. He loves to get out on deck and do a lot of hands-on practical training. So the classroom rotation definitely will not be in any of the levels all sitting in place. Now we'll have to do some to refresh. The whole point of a cruise, which many students don't comprehend the first time around, it's a capstone from their first year, and to start to introduce new or other ways to apply on the next year. So even though they've had terrestrial navigation, doesn't mean that they've made a proficient performance of it just yet. So we'll do more navigation again to get their skill sets a little higher. The 300 level is right now a small group. It's going to be an engaging group. We have Captain Andy Fazioli and Captain Peterlin will be the lead on those 2. Captain Peterlin has a lot of regulatory and loves meteorology. He wants to get more practical and hands-on in how that interacts with the daily voyage. And then Captain Fazioli will be working on the Celestial project with the more engaged hand in hand, because we found over the years that the students don't understand the purpose of the project as well. And so she wants to intervene and help them find where they may lack in shooting a star on a horizon, and critique them so that they get better at it, not just plug and chug, which is what we've always done in the past, because it's kind of what the Coast Guard expects. But we want them to be more proficient and actually fall in love with it and have a passion with the stars. And then we are taking a smaller simulator that we're hoping that we can integrate into that same program to where they can practice their skill set of watch standing together in smaller groups too. So she's going to spend more than the required couple hours a day and break them into smaller groups and then spend more time even with them. So they're really going over and beyond what they're expected to do there. On the senior cruise, and I know Captain Ryan Viken's there to really give more detail, but he's one of our legal eagle types. He is very competent in breaking apart incidents and doing a lot of deep dive into interpretation and practical application of our rules and regulatory stuff and best practices. And then the afternoon for him will be engineering. Each of the programs have an engineering program. I forgot to mention that on the 300 level. And they'll have some kind of hands-on project where they will make a item that they will get to take home with them. So that's a quick overview of what each level is. And like I said, this is one of probably the best platforms besides the Clipper, the original girl. If any of those people who are on there are on this particular talk, it's got a lot of good learning spaces. Ryan, do you want to jump in and clarify anything you want about watch rotations that you're preparing for the students?
We're still in the process of finalizing the watch rotations, but we ultimately want to maximize the number of days our students get to spend on the bridge. So when you see your name on a watch bill, you're going to get to go up to the bridge and participate in the watch. That does mean we have a few extra students up there, but I think the extra time our students will get to spend on the bridge of the vessel is an extremely valuable learning tool. We'll have obviously 200, 300, and 400 level students that are up on the bridge. Our 400 level students will be taking the role of watch officers. And it's my opinion that every senior, when they come up to the bridge, will be exercising and performing the duties of a watchstander, and that they're going to need to know all the information of a watchstander. Now, obviously, if we have 6 or 7 seniors on the bridge, we won't be able to have all of them be the official cadet watchstander, but we will have one senior level cadet that will be making and executing the decisions of a mate based on the information that all of the cadets will be expected to gather there. Moving on from there, we'll also have positions where there will be a navigator, but again, all cadets are going to be working as at the senior level there. We'll have juniors that are integrated into the watch as well. Both juniors and seniors will be performing instruction duties with our underclassmen, and our underclassmen will be getting used to the general operations of a vessel. So they'll be performing duties such as lookouts. They'll also be standing at the helm. I ran through the numbers, and I think every cadet will hopefully get 8 hours or 8 to 10 hours on the helm to practice their steering throughout the duration of cruise. And the freshmen alone will not be dedicated to just lookout or helm work. They'll have a little bit of a project to do up on the bridge. And then our seniors, such as Cole, will hopefully be providing additional instruction on the equipment that is on the bridge at the time as well. So they'll hone in on some of their basic skills, and they'll hopefully expand their knowledge on the tools that we have on the bridge at that time.
Okay, thank you. That's great. Before I go to Dr. Kane to talk about the engineering side, but if it wasn't clear, the way we're treating you, we have some that just finished their freshman year and they're now sophomores, some that just finished their sophomore year and now they're academically juniors. But if you're on your rookie seat term, you're doing the 200 level, you're all considered in the same group, and your shirts are going to match, based on, be a teal color that says you're a first termer. And so And the tape on your hard hat is gonna match that, be a green tape on the hard hat. So we know who the first termers are. It's really important, particularly for safety of operations on the deck, et cetera. But it's also because the seniors are all going to be wearing black shirts and black tape. And you know, our faculty, our mates, you know, our chief mate, they're going to be looking for those black shirts to work you, to put you in charge, because we're preparing you to be an officer very, very soon. And that's really the whole point of this program. Let me switch to Dr. Kane and let's talk about the engine side. Oh,
Can I jump in one more time to capstone it all? So the reason why we're doing a lot of changes to this year program is because the leadership portion in the previous years hasn't been as strong throughout the levels of the cadets. So we would have the core staff and then the other seniors would kind of sit behind and kind of sit there and wait to be told. We're wanting to bring them in with these colored shirts to help them learn to be leaders, and then to train their second year and first year cruisers like they would their ABs. It's a trait they have to have for their cruises. So Ryan's really working, or Captain Beacon's working really hard to try to make sure that that does happen, because in the past, sometimes they didn't have to do as much. And we really want to push our students to not only learn it, but to be able to teach it and own what they know for knowledge. So the 4 rotations for the deck would be the classroom, where they get a lot of theoretical and practical knowledge. And then of course they will get 50% of the time would be between the watch and the maintenance, where they are definitely working with the operations of the vessel. And of course, everybody has to own their own parts in their household, which is what their ship is for 60 days. The utilities, they will be making sure the safety of the ship is there, security, cleaning, in the middle of the night, maintenance if it needs to be done, that kind of thing. So just to give you a capstone of how the rest of it that Cadet Massington kind of told you about before.
okay, perfect. Thank you, Captain Roth. Dr. Kane.
Okay, on the engineering side, we've got to divide up into two rotations for us. And so as an engineer on the ship, you've got to know how every system works. If any system breaks on the ship, you're the one who's got to know how to fix it. So for many of our cadets, it's their first time on the ship. So a lot of the time in the 200 level is going to be spent just doing a basic introduction to the system. How does the system work? And basic operation. And once you get up to the senior level, you're going to start to understand how these systems integrate and talk to one another, as well as work on the leadership side. You're going to be the 400 students are going to be the people on watch, operating the steam plant, making sure that the health of the steam plant is working, just so we can get from one place to another and back home again. So in charge of that is going to be Chief Milton Korn. He's the chief engineer of the train ship, and he's got a team of steam engineers to operate that plant. But he's also a professor in the plant, professor in the system. So he's not just, he understands, and his primary duty is going to be the safe operation of the plant, but he's also interested in operating that plant in order that you can learn and see how it works. This is a great thermodynamics in a steam laboratory, unlike anything you'll see anywhere else on campus. And so it's really a bit, I can't call it a playground because it's very serious and it's very, very dangerous, but it's a fun place to watch how the systems work and how they interrelate. And hey, all that math you're learning in class, it really does come into play. And I have a hard time, Colonel Foss is a mechanical engineer, and so I have a hard time getting him out of the engine room when he's on board, just because he likes to be down there and see how the systems work. And so it's a great opportunity to really see something that 90% of your other engineers are not going to see until they get out in the real world. So it's really going to give you a leg up to see how those systems work. And so you're going to spend about half your time on a watch and doing the maintenance. And so the engineering group is a little bit smaller. So you're going to work side by side along the maintenance engineers. Hey, if something breaks or we need preventive maintenance, you're standing side by side learning what you're going to be doing when you get out, when you get your license, working to see and troubleshoot and perform those operations. The other half is going to be the classroom side, split between the 200 and 400 levels. We'll have various faculty members on board. Have a couple of great licensed option faculty members. Chief Engineer Venetia McQueen is going to be on for most of the cruise. She's also an assistant department head, has over 20 years of experience sailing in various types of vessels. Fantastic instructor, and she's going to be working primarily with the sophomores, introducing you to the systems, showing you how they work, not just in the classroom, but then, hey, you learn about the refrigeration system. Let's go see where it is on the ship, see what these valves looks like, and teach you how to trace out systems. We also have Chief Peterson, who's got 30 plus years of experience. Call him Dr. Diesel because he's really a world expert on diesel emission technology from his commercial side, and so he'll be teaching the seniors not only the diesel operations, but also a lot about how to become a chief engineer and how to become a good third engineer, because that's the first step in becoming a good chief engineer. And so you'll see a lot of those. Spend a little bit of time in class and a lot of time dealing with the systems on board. So.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kane. Anything else from y'all? Okay, that's great. Next, master of the training ship, Captain McNeese. Let's talk about how ship operations are going to run.
Well, I was given the watch and everything, and so most of the students will be on 4 hours on and 8 hours off watch cycle for when they are on it for a good 10-day period. They will be well out at sea and along the coast for them to learn these evolutions, and then at anchor. So they're going to have a lot of unique experiences. We're going to be anchored fairly close to St. Thomas, and they're going to be able to see the lights and all that and enjoy that. So every day we're going to have different sections. So there'll be a watch section, a class section, maintenance, and utility sections. They all have different responsibilities and of what they have to do on the deck side. And as Dr. Kane just spoke about, the engineers have watch and maintenance. They are very similar. They're 4 hours on, 8 hours off when they're on watch. And then when they're maintenance, they're generally in the day and just a day working cadet, learning about the different aspects of the ship and everything. So they will have full days of and warm days. So it will be a lot of fun. We succeeded last year very well with our students that went with us on this program, and they loved it. Liberty. Well, Liberty is going to be by companies and individuals cleared for Liberty. Liberty will be started as early as we can get it when their company areas that they are responsible for are clean. And unfortunately, that means my clean and Commandant Van Elzen's clean. So, and my chief mate's clean. So it's going to be clean. So communications and mail, you're going to be able to send us envelopes to the academy and small packages and at the academy, and we'll be able to bring them down to the ship there when we pull in Galveston the next time in the end of July, beginning of August. And so it'll be just their name, T.S. Kennedy, and the academy address. Should you have a family emergency or anything like that, please just call the campus police. That is the fastest and easiest way for them. They know how to contact us, both on the rudder, and they will know how to contact us on the Kennedy. All you need to do is call campus police, which is 409-740-4545. And that is the best way of getting hold of us if there is an emergency and we need to pass something on to your student. As for weather, my chief engineer says it will be balmy. He anticipates a very balmy summer. And I do too. The I'm not really all that worried about hurricanes because hurricanes generally ramp up in the late August period and September period, which point we should be off of New England and well north of all of those kind of problems. So don't think we'll have any problems with that.
What'd you do last summer when you had to deal with a hurricane? Dodged it.
I ran away,
Yep.
just like I'm supposed to. And there's a subject in Bowditch, the Holy Bible of the Mariner. And so we followed, Captain Post and I followed the directions of that and stayed well clear of it. I think we had a 3-4 hour period of 40 knot winds. That was just in tropical force winds. So
Yep.
I don't want to have a whole bunch of Greens on the ship. So we will stay far away from any storms.
Right. Right. Okay. When you touched on Liberty, and I, for a lot of, I mean, some of the families here have experience with the maritime operations and world. But explain a little bit if you could. And Captain, you're probably the best one to do this. What's the difference between when we're doing a port call, on the training ship, versus when you are, arrive in port, on a commercial vessel? Just compare and contrast those.
Well, on a commercial ship, if you're not working, you're allowed to go ashore. And that usually comprises of just running to Walmart or Target to grab the few needs that you need and coming right back. Liberty nowadays on a commercial ship is very limited. And yes, you can go when you're within the United States anytime and all that. In most countries, some foreign countries, you're not allowed to go ashore. They don't give you, they don't clear the vessel. With our training crews and everything, everybody's going to have to be back at midnight. All of our students have to be back at midnight at the latest. And that is because the next day is a training day. Every day on there is a training day, and you need to fulfill your responsibilities and be well rested and ready to go for the next day. You might get Liberty again at 9-10 o'clock if you're lucky, but if you have other responsibilities, those come first.
Well, and it's important also that cadet, they won't get Liberty all three. We're trying to, most port calls, we try to have 3 days in port to give an opportunity for some of that cultural, experience too. But somebody's always working on the ship. And so basically, you won't get off all 3 days. One day you will spend the day working while your buddies, go to shore that
There's
day.
people that have to stay on watch and mind the ship. They have to do the cleaning. They have to do the scullery. They have duties aboard. The ship does not stop just because we pulled into port.
Some of the comments I've gotten from some of our recent grads was, they weren't prepared for the real ops tempo. When you arrive in port, it's the busiest time of all because you're trying to offload cargo, unload cargo, and get back out there to make money. So anyway, so we're trying to do a balance, have a little bit of fun, give people a break, but there's still a lot of discipline involved with it. Did you have anything else there, Captain?
No, I've been a senior officer since '95. You don't get any free time. When you're on the ship. When you're there to work.
Right.
So we'll try to let them have some fun, but a lot of work to be done.
Well, and you mentioned curfew. The hard curfew is midnight for everybody, but it's graduated. So people on the 200 level will be 11 p.m.
Yes.
300 level.
300 is 2330 and 2400 is for 400 level.
Yep. So that's okay. Let me turn it over to let's see. I'm not sure, Captain Sutherland or Dr. Sutherland rather. I promoted you. But you want to talk about other organized activities and stuff?
Yeah, certainly. So for, the folks who haven't been, as Pat McNeese and Colonel Fossman just mentioned, this pulling into port is part of the training. This is a very rigorous, intensive training program over 2 weeks, and how you go in and dock and manage the ropes and all those types of things are a critical piece. But we try and, for those folks who don't have direct responsibilities, everybody's going to have some responsibility when we're in port. We try and organize some activities so people can go out and expand their cultural horizons, as well as have a little bit of fun. Different people like to do that in different ways. Generally, what will end up happening is we'll have one of my staff will do a port briefing the night or two before that will kind of outline the port, neat places to go, restaurants, those types of things, trying to give people an outline, just an outline of where they might want to go and visit. Lots of cadets that, I've just spent 3 weeks shoulder to shoulder with everybody. I want to get away with just 1 or 2 of my friends and go to a restaurant. That's fine. We also try to do more organized excursions. For instance, when we get to St. Thomas, we've organized a trip to the Coral World Ocean Park in Megan's Bay, which is a resort out there. We've worked a deal where cadets can get over there for just $15 a piece. And that's a beach and, and all those types of nature trail, reserve, all those types of things. And if they want to do extra, if they want to rent snorkeling gear or rent jet skis or swimming with the kayaking with dolphins or the shark display, there's all different kinds of things that students can go and pay a little extra if they want to do that. Others are just going to want to go and hit the different beaches and do whatever, dive trips, fishing, whatever they want to do. But we will try to organize something at both St. Thomas, and then when we get to Boston, we're looking to organize trips to the baseball game. A couple different costs there. It's probably going to be $40 to $50 for students who want to go to have a group go out to see that. But a lot of times students will go, and Boston's a great place. You've got the Freedom Trail. There's a lot of real historical things that we'll try and coordinate and get information out that are low cost if students don't want to spend any more of it. But particularly some with the rich history of Boston, we'll put a lot of that information out. So you'll get a port briefing that'll give information. We'll also give, contact information of where we're at, all those types of things. So hand that to all the different cadets. So they'll have that in their pocket and go out and try and see the sites a little bit before they come back and pick up their next shift.
Okay, let me add to that because there's a lot of potential, especially in a really foreign place like St. Thomas. And, when you have shore leave, you're out there. This is the opportunity to practice good judgment and decision-making, discretion. You do not want to get in trouble in an overseas port, for sure. And you don't want to get hurt and end up having to go home because you've got a broken arm and can't do your job. So you're set back a year. So I would stay away from the hang gliding off the cliffs and whatever else that might sound like a good idea until it sets you back a year. So this is actually the work world that these cadets will be graduating into very soon, where the ships are going overseas and they're in foreign places, and they've got to use judgment and teamwork to enjoy and don't get crazy and get in trouble, because it can have really big consequences. So I think that covers that. Let's talk about travel. Who's covering that? Meg, Dan?
Yes, sir. So this is a university trip. The summer sea term is departing Galveston, and we return them to Galveston. So all of the cadets are once we disembark in Buzzards Bay, we have fully chartered flights, buses to Providence Airport, chartered flight from Providence back to Houston, transportation from Houston back to Galveston for all of the cadets, and we're expecting all of the cadets to travel that way. For anybody who has a really compelling extenuating circumstance, there was a link sent out in an email that they can request deviation from that travel plan. But for anybody who gets that approved, you are responsible for your own transportation once you step off the brow of the ship at the pier in Buzzards Bay. The trip to Providence Airport's about an hour and a half away. And because this is a government contracted flight, there will be no flight reimbursements for people who are not taking the government, the university provided travel. So you say, hey, my family's in Maine and I don't want to fly all the way back to Houston to Maine. you can go from Providence to Maine, but there's not going to be a reimbursement for those travel expenses.
No, and the important thing to understand is you're completely on your own. And we need to have the good head count because we're reserving buses. We've chartered 2 airplanes, 2 airliners to bring everybody back from Providence to Houston Hobby. And and that's a sunk cost. And we're working with the federal government chip sharing money about that, but also for the buses and stuff. So we need to know, and we're all accountable. And a part of that travel also is nobody will be getting off the ship in Buzzards Bay. There's no shore leave in Buzzards Bay because we're arriving there, and it is going to be all hands on deck to get everything cleaned up and packed up, and into the portable container on the dock and everything, so we can depart by noon the next day. We didn't want to crush it. This is bad. This is actually poor form, but Massachusetts slipped their C term, which slipped ours, and kind of forced a really suboptimal handover back to them. But we're going to do the best we can do, and so there won't be anybody running into town for dinner or other things that night. So I think that's important to know. And let's see,
And for anybody who's has been approved for individual travel, nobody will be allowed off the ship before noon on the 27th. So none of this, oh, I've got a 7 a.m. flight on the 27th. I need to be out of there on the night of the 26th. We have to, like the Colonel said, we have to get the ship cleaned, turned over. We can't just drop the keys off at the front desk and head off the ship and leave a mess for Massachusetts to turn around and go on their sea term.
Nobody leaves before noon. So don't plan your flights accordingly, because it's not fair for somebody to just bail out and then leave the work to those that remain. So we'll all stay and we'll all get it done. And just as long as we're real clear about it, I think we have been.
And just a point of clarification, Dan, that exemption extends to not taking advantage of travel from Houston back to the Galveston campus, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. If you're not taking transportation all the way back to the Galveston campus, then we need to find out what your deviation from the planned travel is. So if we don't need to have a bus seat for you going from Hobby Airport back to Galveston, we need to know that so we don't book extra seats that aren't utilized.
Very good, thanks. So we need to know for the airplane and even back in Houston, because many people live close to Houston. They might rather just have family pick them up and go home.
Pick them up at Hobby and go home from there. Correct.
Right. Okay. Okay. What kind of questions have we had pop up? Rebecca?
Well, sir, I think that Meg was going to go into a little bit more detail.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The travel plans. Yes, sir.
You bet. Thanks, Meg. Please.
No, I think that Van covered it very well. That, we're leaving from Galveston, but we're returning to Buzzards Bay, and we will need to have a good head count. So you need to fill out those forms and submit them.
Okay. Very good. Thanks.
Who would be best suited to go over check-in details and kind of drill down into the weeds on arrival locations, times, accommodations from the point of check-in onward? Who would be best to speak to that? We have a number of questions related to that.
Van, do you and I want to tag team that? All right. Check-in for vaccinated persons will be at Tama Hall on Sunday, June 27th. And like Commander Van Velsen said, that is split up throughout the day. We ask that you please try and remain in your check-in times. The check-in process will be a number of stations. The first station is medical screening, where our ship's doctors, as well as doctors from Student Health Services and College Station, will medically screen you, take any pertinent medical information that they need that could possibly help them in the event of an issue on board. Then you will go through a CBAG inspection, grooming and uniform, to where you make sure that your CBAG and your person is shipshape and ready to go. You'll be assigned a room in Tama Hall. You will then go through a credential and verification check where you need to present to us that you have on hand your TWIC card, your Merchant Mariner credential, and the other listed items. From there, you will do a COVID screen. We will make sure that those checking in with vaccines do not currently have COVID. We will also, Cole, remind me, we will have the barber on site that day if anybody needs to get a haircut. For those checking in who are unvaccinated, and that would be on the 24th of June, we will also have medical screening on campus with the SHIPS doctor, or I think it'll be Student Health Services on that date. We also will be conducting COVID screening, and we will also have the Johnson & Johnson vaccine available on that date for anybody that was unable to get it earlier or get a vaccine earlier, whether it was unavailable to them or they were already shipped out for the spring semester. If they do get it at that time, the quarantine period, the pre-quarantine period will still be in effect for that minimum of 6 days. However, once they do pass that, they will be released from quarantine. And by the time we get to St. Thomas, they will have passed the 2-week efficacy period for that vaccine, and they will be allowed liberty. So if you do want the vaccine, please fill out that vaccine form and note it on there. That form's in your email, and we will have it available for you on the 24th.
And Captain Post, I think the distinction there is if you get the Johnson & Johnson right before the C term, you will still be handled as unvaccinated and pre-quarantine, tested, moved onto the ship and on the 1st of July, and not to get off of the ship again while we're in Galveston, that you will cross the 2-week window by the time we get to St. Thomas. And so at that point, you could have shore leave. Okay.
Thank you, sir. And I hope that answered the check-in question. Now, moving on board, we will be moving on board all things hopefully, as long as everything's on schedule, on the morning of the 1st. We'll move on board by company that day. Actually, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd are going to be very long days. We'll be moving in on the 1st by company, and we'll have luggage cab trucks to move your bags and supplies and stuff. Once we get on board, we have to do the SMS familiarization with everyone. And we'll be setting that up as stations around the vessel. Correct me if I'm wrong, Captain McNeese. And where the officers will go through the different emergency procedures and stuff like that. Immediately after lunch, we'll be conducting onboard fire and emergency and abandoned ship drills for the Coast Guard inspection, which will be the following day on Friday the 2nd. Once we pass Coast Guard inspection, it is all hands on deck to store and provision the vessel. We've got 60 days worth of food to get on board and all of the supplies that go with it. So that will happen on Saturday. Sunday, the 4th of July, I believe, Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, will be a holiday routine. Typical holiday routine, we'll be doing a clean ship. It's called a field day, where we go through the ship and clean it with a fine-tooth comb to the point where it's Captain McNeese and Commandant Van Velsen clean, which I'd like to reiterate is clean. That keeps your cadets healthy and safe. And we will have the proper disinfectants and stuff on board to combat any COVID or anything else that might try and get on. So they will be allowed liberty on the 4th of July. I believe there was a question about, will I be able to see my kid in port? If they are vaccinated, yes, they will be allowed off the vessel. We cannot allow visitors on board the vessel, as we do not know those persons' status, and we are trying to keep COVID off the vessel. So you will be able to see your vaccinated student in port.
Alan, that's a great intro into what happens if someone does test positive during cruise. And Meg, Susan, you may be able to feed into the second part of this question on what happens if a cadet contracts COVID and can't participate in cruise. What are the financial implications there? What happens?
So first off, we will have COVID testing capability on board the vessel. We do have 2 doctors to be able to accomplish any of that, and a full ship's hospital that does have some advanced capability, but obviously limited due to it being on a ship. The ship also can make its own oxygen. There's a oxygen concentrator on board, and we do have quarantine rooms on board the ship as well. The good thing is if you are vaccinated, your chances of getting COVID are very, very slim. And if you do contract COVID, your chances of developing life-threatening or, shall we say, very uncomfortable significant symptoms is very less. Thank you. So we do have that. Should you require evacuation from the vessel, one of the reasons why we are staying close to the coast and close to the United States is so that we can quickly get back to a port of entry into the United States and get off-board medical care if needed. So that's what we would do.
I think if somebody is COVID positive and has to be isolated for 2 weeks, they're really done. We probably would need to get them off of the ship and send them home or to a shoreside facility because we can't deal with that as well on the ship.
Yep.
But same as if they broke a leg and and had to go home. Can't finish the course. In order to finish the course, you got to be there for the full duration.
So, with the practice that's already happening out in the training ship fleet, with these COVID protocols, knock on wood, they have not had any issues on board.
Yeah.
How soon can cadets arrive on campus? Do we have a cutoff date there? Will accommodations be available?
No sooner than the 27th, unless you're specifically directed.
And Dr. Sullivan, you want to, it's kind of a housing.
Yeah, we can look at that to see if we might be able to do it. We're going in right now. There was also the question on whether or not they'd be able to store their stuff for the fall, and we're really trying to get in. COVID last summer, we weren't able to go and do a lot of the cleaning and renovation of Tama Hall that so we put that off for a couple of years, and I'm really trying to get in and get that done. So those rooms would not be available for the whole summer, but we can certainly see, and we'll get communication out, next week on whether students can come in the day before if necessary, if they're coming from a long distance. So we'll get back to you on that report.
So we'd prefer it wasn't more than the day before.
It would need to be the day before.
Yeah. Okay.
And when they do check into Tama Hall for the before the C term, you almost certainly will not be in that room come the fall semester. So don't plan on moving into Tama Hall before the summer C term, staging your stuff in your room, and then coming back 2 months later. Like Dr. Sutherland said, we're going to have maintenance in here. We're going to have painting, all manner of maintenance. So that's not the room you're likely going to be in for fall semester.
Right.
And when we do return to Galveston via the plane flight, correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, please, but the rooms, your semester rooms, will be available at that time. Is that correct?
Correct. When the bus arrives here from Galveston, you can move directly into your room. We'll have staff here ready to make that happen. And so move stuff in and then head home or head home the next day, but we will have you set ready to go.
Okay. Other questions?
Somebody's asking if we'll have a Catholic priest aboard. And that is yes.
How long is Father Oubre with us?
He'll be with us all July.
Okay. First
And
half.
we will definitely ask him to bless this cruise.
So I think we're ready to go a little bit into some finances. I'd like to introduce Ms. Susan Lee, who is our CFO, to kind of go over some of the nuances that feed into line items with cruise and provide a much better summary than any of us in this room could.
Yes, one of the questions I believe was the increase in price from 2019 to 2021. And I did try to get a little bit of information while everyone else was talking. That increase was basically on average about $650, just so you'll know that is pretty much derived from an increase in the meal costs and the general operations, about split 300 to 300. One thing I want everyone to know, however, is that our meal cost is actually higher than that, and we are subsidizing that for our students. We wanted to keep that cost down as much as we could. So we are subsidizing almost $300 out of our own pockets for that. The other thing I wanted to make clear is that you are not being charged in any of this total maximum amount for this travel. That travel is not part of your bill. So when they say you need to make your own arrangements if you want the waiver to do your own flight, that is on your dime, okay? And I think, Meg, there was a question about refunds for someone who could not get on the ship. Can you give the standard answers for how we do those kinds of things?
Yes, if something would happen like COVID and you had to leave the ship, then there are set refunding rules that have been approved by the Board of Regents. And after, I believe for this session, it would be after 10 days, there would be no refund. But we have a fiscal appeal process. So if something happens like that, then you would get in touch with me on campus when you were better, and I would guide you to the correct forms and with a doctor's note. And we have an appeal committee that meets, and we would see what we could do to help you. Now, that's if something like that happens. If you get sick, you're seriously sick, like Colonel Fossum said, you break your arm. But if there's misconduct that happens and you are returned to campus, you're taken off the ship, there's no fiscal appeal for that, okay?
Oh, be careful, folks. Be careful. We don't want you getting sick. We don't want you getting hurt. And we don't want to have to send you home. But we will have full functioning discipline system, and process, captain's mast on the ship itself. And we send somebody home almost every year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a terrible, terrible blow, financial blow, lost money, lost opportunity, delay in eventual licensing and graduation. So, be professionals. Other questions?
We will make sure we've got a couple of questions regarding the flight exemption forms. We'll make sure to get a communication out to you all no later than Tuesday of next week that has the exemption link as well as known details at that time. We will follow up on Thursday with an additional summarized update that itemizes planning details, event details, etc. I apologize for not having that on hand immediately.
Okay, and we don't care if you want to make your own arrangements, that's fine. What we're offering, and this is part of the support we've managed to negotiate to get from the federal government to support the ship sharing. If this was our ship that lived at our dock, we would start in Galveston and we would end in Galveston, and a lot of things when we have to take operational control over a ship that from Massachusetts, there's extra costs. And we're very fortunate to have managed to get this through the US Congress. When we took the Kennedy in 2018 to and from Buzzards Bay, it did not come to Galveston. The cadets had to pay all of their own travel from wherever they were to Boston or Providence, and then a very expensive Uber ride or whatever, up there to get to the academy. It was a zoo to get to Mass Maritime, and then afterwards it was a mad scramble. So this is so much better. So we're chartering the airplane, we're chartering the buses at both ends, and then we will take that and get reimbursed from the federal government. But it's only to support travel between our campus in Galveston and the Mass Maritime campus at Buzzards Bay. That federal funding doesn't support any other travel options. And so that's why we say, if you want to go home to Kansas or wherever, that's fine. But it's truly on your dime, and there's no reimbursement for that. There's no way we can do that. But if you want to do that, we're glad to support you. We just need to know it for our planning. Any other questions?
Do you want to talk a little bit about the conduct, code of conduct, and how that's normally handled on campus, but also especially for summer C term?
You bet. Well, I'll start in general, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Sutherland and Commander Van Velzen. We expect discipline on a ship, and the industry expects discipline on a ship. In fact, if you talk to the cadets that did commercial sea term, they'll tell you that they had room inspections on the ship. Cole, nod your head. Right? Yeah, every day. So, that's not an unusual thing. Captains, it varies, of course, but, they like to run run a tight ship, as well as it's long been known that, if it's clean, then you're less likely to be spreading not just coronavirus, but other bugs that run through a crew when, in a place where you're just shoulder to shoulder a whole lot. So, there will be demerits, the potential for demerits on the ship. We expect discipline. You expect, if you're scheduled for something, you're supposed to show up on time. That's the maritime profession's expectation. They don't give you demerits in the workplace, but you can lose your job with too many, kind of showing a lack of professionalism. And that's what we're trying to grow is a professionalism. There's rules for our academy and operations on the ship. There's rules on every ship in the industry, and getting you used to that. If people have demerits when we get to port, and it's their opportunity for liberty in port, what are they going to be doing? Captain, you want to explain to us?
For every demerit, they will spend an extra hour with me off of their liberty. So they will have duties aboard, and we will work off those demerits.
Okay.
So it's a very simple system. I recommend not getting demerits and spending as much time as you can off the ship and enjoying your free time.
And I would add, I know there's a lot of parents on this Zoom, and I really wish there's an opportunity for you to sail, because what you see quite often on these summer sea terms is the cadets, your sons and daughters, they turn into a well-oiled machine. It's a very structured environment with lots of stuff going on, lots of moving parts. Obviously, we need to have rules there for sanitation, those types of things, but there's not a lot of time for people to make that decision, on board the ship. When we talk about conduct on board a summer term, it's either while it's on board, sometimes academic integrity cases, they didn't do what they needed to with regards to a project or something, and looked over somebody else's work, or quite often it's when we get into port, and that's sometimes when bad decisions are made that could have much larger ramifications. In those cases, if the showing up late, sometimes going to happen. That's why it's demerits, and you work off the demerits. No big deal. On the other bigger type of situation with higher stakes, and that's where we get together with what's called a captain's mass, where the commandant will get several of the professionals on board the ship to say, what would happen if this occurred when you were out in industry? And can we handle this in an educational manner? Sometimes that educational is having somebody lose the ability to go out at the next port, but sometimes it's separation where they're asked to go home, once again because of safety or something. So we're talking about very, very low percentage. We have an outstanding group of cadets who constantly are looking to do the right things, and I can't tell you how proud I am every time I go on board to say, just to see the level of professionalism that all of them exhibit.
Other questions, Rebecca? She's scrolling.
Alan, how many sea days will this be?
58 training ship days, so 58 times 1.5.
And Captain Post, do you want to, because a lot of people are counting sea days, you want to give a broad picture on where our cadets are, in sea days, and why we think we're in pretty good shape.
So most everybody is in pretty good shape, especially the class of 2021. And we do have some dispensation for the class of 22 and 3. It's been a while since I've looked at that memo. I apologize. But the Coast Guard did provide us with temporary measures that allows everybody to accrue additional time for their time in service. Not only that, we are quickly and rapidly making up any deficiencies, and anybody who is deficient, we do have you on the list, and we'll make every effort to catch you up prior to your expected graduation date.
Okay.
Excellent. I think that we have, we've had a couple of questions related to some paperwork, specifically routing and physicals and MMC license and all of that. Would it be helpful for this group, for all of our attendees, to have a one-on-one session to address some of those specifics? If so, we'd be happy to set that up for you. If you'll just drop in the chat that that's something that you would prefer, let me know, and we'll get something set up pretty quickly.
Okay. And we can also use the questions that you've asked to make sure that the comms that we send out in the next week or so will, clearly answer that.
Colonel, I think we're good and quickly approaching our cutoff time. If you would like to close us out.
Oh, you bet. Again, I started this off by saying I'm excited, and I truly am. The Kennedy is a beautiful ship. We sailed her in 2019. She's old, but she's got beautiful lines. It's learning your way around her is it's quite a three-dimensional rat maze, and so it's a lot of fun to stumble around and learn your way around the ship. I look forward to calling you all shipmates because I'll be on the first leg, and for me, that's absolutely the best part of the year. And I've missed it because I didn't get to go out last year because I was non-essential personnel, and there was no non-essential personnel on the rudder last year. But I'm truly looking forward to being on the ship with you for the first leg as we get started here. I will have a representative for me on the ship at all times this summer. Dr. Quigg will be on the ship, Dr. Sutherland will be on the ship, and Captain Post will be on the ship. They'll all be at times representing, me as the leader of, the superintendent of the Maritime Academy, as well as the leader of this entire campus. So this is the most substantial thing we do. It's the hardest thing we do. And but it's absolutely essential for your educations, for your development as a mariner, as a leader. And we're trying to be creative in ways to stretch you, to work you, to challenge you. and to give you the opportunity to step up and show the initiative, show the know-how, as well as bringing along the the less experienced people, because that's part of life as an officer on a ship. From the first day you step aboard. So we're excited to be doing this, and I'm incredibly proud of the team that's here and the many dozens of people. I mean, our big C-term planning meeting involves about 70 people, with representing all of the different facets that need to come together to make this happen. So we're leaning forward hard. We're doing our best to learn lessons from years past, and I'm proud of the cadet leadership again for stepping up and getting involved in this to help us. And so for you cadets that are not in company commander or other leadership positions yet this year, these cadets are representing you, and they're influencing things a lot, and they're influencing them for the better. And and we just look forward to it. I can't wait to haul my sea bag up the gangway to join you. So thanks a bunch, everybody. We've got a few more weeks of hard work. For those of you that are out at home, enjoy another few weeks of summer, and we're all going to work together. So thanks a bunch, and good evening.